So circling back to the idea of your mother as a novelist, because your mother is a best-selling novelist who you've done a lot of promotion with, as it's Jewel Parker Rhodes, whose latest book is, oh shoot, it's gone. What is her latest book? It's gone.
Her latest is Paradise on Fire, and it's about a young girl and her a group of kids who are out in the wilderness doing one of these sort of out of the city wilderness experiences who are threatened by wildfires. So super timely. It's getting a new cover, I think, by August. And it's a really, really good book. If you have a kid in your life, she writes middle grade fiction. At least now. When I was a kid, she was writing fiction for adults. But if you have a kid who's looking for middle grade, you cannot go wrong with a Jewel Parker Rhodes book.
And Mr. Rhodes, if you're listening, you are right. Go anytime.
Yes, no, I'm sure she would love to connect, and she loves doing podcasts and talking about her work. But before Paradise on Fire, she had Black Brother, and then her big seller was Ghost Boys. And she also wrote Towers Falling. So she's another one who engages with current socio-political things. And she's another one too who always has some sort of religious or magical character wending their way through their books. So maybe a good fit for you.
So she's do you remember a time before she was a writer, or was she always a writer your entire life?
She was always a writer, but because I am interested in this sort of generational things, she grew up without much in Pittsburgh, and she went to school because she was a dancer. So she had this sort of dance talent. And so she went to a junior college for dance, and that was kind of her way out and going to be her escape at the time from the poverty that she grew up with. And one day at junior college, she went to the library and she found a book by Gail Forman called Corregidora. And she looked at the bio on the back of the book, and it was a Black woman. And she had no idea until that moment that Black women wrote books. And the way she tells the story anyway, is that day she changed her major to be creative writing, that she wanted to study English and she wanted to study creative writing. She had always loved books. She carried tons of books with her wherever she went, but she truly did not know that it was possible for someone who looked like her, for someone who came from the background she did, to write fiction. But after that, she never turned back. She went through school, and she published her first adult novel a couple years after I was born. She also started writing that one while she was pregnant with me. And that book was called Voodoo Dreams, and it was the story of Marie Laveau. And after that, she wrote Magic City about the Tulsa race riots. The race massacre now is the way we talk about it. But this was, way back in the day. So she was kind of blazing those trails with, Black literary fiction. She wrote a book about Frederick Douglass, and then many other books after that, and eventually started writing for children. So I always grew up with a mother who wasn't afraid to speak through stories and through fiction. There was no question in my mind that I could also write books if I wanted to. That was like a door that she opened for me. And a door that maybe she had wished that she'd also opened a door for me to be a dentist one day. A little more of a secure career, but that didn't happen. She used to write every single day that we were kids, and she'd put a sign up on her door that said, children keep out writing. And I thought, well, there must be some sort of magic going on behind that door. And so from a pretty young age, I started just mimicking that and writing behind my closed door too. My juvenilia. And just, I always wanted to sort of follow in those footsteps. What's funny is we write very different books. And I've always gravitated more towards young adult fiction, which she's sort of never been as interested in, or hasn't done yet in any case. So it's been a wild ride. And when Black Brother came out and AGNES came out, that sort of 2020, she had all these bookstore events lined up. I had all these bookstore events for my debut, and they all disappeared because of the pandemic. Everything switched to virtual. So we decided, well, maybe we'll try and do this kind of virtual tour and see what happens. And I don't know that we really sold any books that way. It's one of those things, nobody knows. But we did get to hang out together in a year when we probably wouldn't have seen each other, sort of living in different places. So that was pretty cool. Oh, and we do have a book that we wrote together that will be coming out. It's a picture book called Soul Step. Not sure about the pub date yet, but it's in the works.
And so you were able to collaborate together creatively and not have a blow up that ended your relationship forever.
Yeah. The trick is not have a blow up that ends your relationship. You can have the blow up can happen, but you just want to make sure you keep pushing through there. And yeah, it's been kind of a funny journey.
Your impulse on the story is wrong here. Also, that thing you did when I was 5.
It help. I will tell you, it helps to have the trump card granddaughter. I'll just be like, look at this cute picture of Clara. You can't stay mad at me.
So picture book is a nice warm up. Could you see the two of you collaborating on a longer middle grade or young adult novel at some point?
We've talked about that, and I do think that we, authors are like, the novelist is kind of a funny creature because we really have full creative control, and I think we really get used to it. I'm not sure that a longer project would work out as well. We've talked about, we could write different perspectives, but we always also have that kind of like break in the drawbridge that my voices tend towards young adult voices, and she is very much a middle grade voice. And we've actually kind of both tried to do one or the other, but I haven't developed a middle grade voice yet. I have like nothing but respect for people who are able to capture that. I think it's much more difficult than writing for young adults. And I think writing for young adults is much more difficult than writing for adults. It's an unpopular opinion. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But she's also one of those people who she's always got several irons in the fire and several projects coming up.
For whatever it's worth, having written all 3, I think middle grade is the hardest of the 3. And I haven't even attempted more than 1 or 2 drafts of picture books because that's way too hard for me.
Oh my gosh, the picture books, it's like writing a poem. And what is harder than that? I mean, that was a really tricky one.